We are advancing on from the stage in Saving Democracy, where Democrats try to remove their duly elected nominee, and advancing towards Democrats panicking and reduced to hoping for another public misstep by Biden, according to the New York Times. Democrats are now at the point where they know they are powerless to stage a coup against Joe Biden, so they're hoping he screws up. Well, fear not, my good friends, Democrats. CNN has come out with possibly the biggest takedown of Joe Biden. Now, to be fair, ain't nobody actually watching CNN, so I don't know who's watching that. But fear not, for I, Tim Pool, will play to you, a much larger audience, the clip so that you can see what Jake Tapper has to say about Joe Biden. And I must add, it is not that I am trying to be smug and cocky over this tremendous audience that we have here. It's that I'm trying to insult CNN to the best of my ability. So forgive me if I sound immodest, but let us all bask together and comment below about why you hate CNN, but will appreciate this segment. This is Jake Tapper taking down Joe Biden, and it's great.
In reality, 72% of voters say that they believe President Biden is too old. That's according to CNN's most recent polling. Voters have been saying this for quite a long time. The reality is that the Democratic elites are mostly late to acknowledge these age and ability issues compared to the rest of the public. The elites have been forced to reckon with it after the debate just 11 days ago.
Look at my career. I've not had many of those nights. It was a terrible night, and I really regret it happened. But the fact of the matter is, how can you assure you're going to be on faith.com intervene on your way to go to, work tomorrow? Age wasn't, the idea I'm too
Get him,
old.
Jake.
The fact of the matter is, how can you assure you're going to be out on your way to go, work tomorrow? Age wasn't, the idea that I'm too old. Keep in mind, that soundbite is supposed to be reassuring to those Democratic supporters who have gone wobbly.
Did you ever watch the debate afterwards?
I don't think I did, no.
He doesn't think he did. He called into a couple of black radio stations.
Oh, it's so good.
Where he said, among other things, this.
By the way, I'm proud to be, as I said, the first vice president, first black woman, served with a black president. I'm proud of the first black woman in the Supreme Court. There's just so much that we can do because together there's nothing. Look, this is the United States of America.
He's proud to be the first black woman? Not coherent. And even then, we later found out, from the radio host, that the Biden campaign had given her a list of questions to ask President Biden.
She resigned.
That is a huge no-no in journalism, and the host was fired for it. But
Oh, you would know, Jake, wouldn't you?
Remains quite telling that in the Biden campaign's efforts to show that the president has not missed a step, his campaign felt the need to feed questions to the hosts for a call-in radio interview. And the president still, even then, failed to deliver in many of his answers. Now, many elected Democrats are expressing concern about this answer, too, although it was quite coherent. George Stephanopoulos asking him how he would feel if he ultimately loses to Donald Trump, which polls have suggested he will.
I feel as long as I gave it my all and I did the goodest job as I know I can do. That's what this is about.
As long as he gave it his all and did the goodest job he could do. That's what it's all about. Is it?
The goodest job. Look, ladies and gentlemen, you've seen all of those most likely. All those gaffes, all those slurs, all that incoherent nonsense. And now CNN is dropping the hammer on Joe Biden. You hate to see it, Joe, but I do have to ask all of you to consider one thing. And I'll give a shout out to our good friend, Alex Jones. He liked to say, "Key bono." Let me make sure I get that right. But who benefits? To whom is it a benefit? Key bono, C-U-I-B-O-N-O. It's a classic Latin. Key bono. Who benefits? To whom is it a benefit that this is all happening? CNN, who we do not trust. The New York Times, who we do not trust. All of a sudden now aligning perfectly with Biden's got to go. Now, I'm not actually a big fan of defending Joe Biden. So I do think it's rather interesting. I do think Joe Biden should probably go. There's a lot of people. We've made the joke on Timcast IRL. We've said, no, Joe Biden is good and we support him. Haha. Like, it's in a tone where if Media Matters took the transcript, it sounds like we're Biden supporters, but you get it. We're jokingly saying Biden will lose against Trump. We don't want him swapped out. That being said, Kamala Harris next in line loses. Just loses. And then you've got this big list of all these other Democrats they tried to field. They all lose. Now, you've got, who is it? Jimmy Kimmel coming out saying Hillary Clinton actually wins in one poll. And and then she wants to run. No, there's like one poll that showed Hillary Clinton up a couple points, but there's like several others that show she's still behind. She can't win. What is achieved by replacing Joe Biden? Nothing. So I don't, for me, flip a coin. I don't know if it matters one way or the other, whether it's Biden or anybody else. What matters is, the only thing that matters is that Republicans today, right now, I call upon you, good friends. And I don't necessarily mean Republican Party. I don't like the Republican Party. Oh boy, I said I was going to rag on them earlier. We're going to save that one for the next segment because this one's fun. But here's what I say of you, my friends. You must take action in a positive and meaningful way that translates into two big parent trees. The first tree is outside of your community. The next is within your home. I shouldn't say outside of your community. I should say within the broader outreaches of your neighborhood and your community. And the other is internally, externally, internally. There we go. Externally, what do I mean? Register people to vote. I mean, Scott Pressler is a hero. OK, he's knocking on doors. He's talking with people every day. He's doing the most important work. He's setting up tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people to vote. People who are not registered are leaning for Donald Trump. Donald Trump is not a savior. He is not a God emperor. He is not going to do everything you want. He's going to give you a marginally okay presidency. That's really it. He's going to turn the ship around in a slightly positive direction. All this Project 2025 nonsense, it's not going to happen. Trump is not going to be the iron fist the Democrats claim he is, nor the savior many of his followers think he is. He's going to marginally improve the economy. He's going to have marginally better foreign policy. We're all going to groan and grumble about many of the things that he does. But I believe that it is the direction towards righting this ship. And then hopefully in the next 4 or 8 years, we will see improvements in our political structuring, whatever that could be. But that's what I say. So that means externally, register people to vote. Be involved in your community politically. Internally, you all need to be exercising, eating healthy, and doing the best you can. That's the rallying cry right there. Find the heaviest thing that you can carry and carry it. You will feel more fulfilled. This message is to all of the hikikomori, the people who don't have jobs and sit at home all day and don't know what to do, the people who find themselves overweight and feeling like garbage. Start exercising. Find a plan. Find a professional. There are apps that'll tell you this stuff for free. You can get MyFitnessPal for a couple bucks. Be a better person. If today, just right now today, because you got 4 months, if today, every single person who is in favor of saving this country, protecting its borders, bringing back the manufacturing base, strengthening the manufacturing base, ending foreign wars, if all of these people started exercising and eating healthy food, you would have a guaranteed end result. It's simple math. All of these people who want something better for this country are stronger, more fit, they're thinking better, they're living longer. They will exert more influence politically and economically. And all the people over here who are fat, lazy, and will do nothing but groan, they will eventually, unfortunately for them, cease to exist. They will not be thinking as clearly. They will not be as mobile and motivated and energetic. They will have less influence in the economy and politics. And that is why I say, be a better version of you every day. This is the goal, and this is the game. Every day, you must be a better version of yourself. In skateboarding, it's just my sport of choice. You can have any sport of choice you so desire. I ask you, what is the metric by which you are better today than you were yesterday? For me, it actually does get a little bit more difficult. I'm 38 years old. We get it. You're getting older. And I look back at the things I did when I was younger and I'm like, what tricks left are there for me? You know, I've 360 inward heel flip. I've never done one of those. All right. I suppose I could try and learn that one. But really it comes down to, is there something I haven't done in a long time that I could add back to my repertoire? I want to make sure that I'm doing something new every day. And that's the goal. For you, it could be simple. Yesterday, how many push-ups did you do? Add one more. And I'm not even saying, maybe you got down, you did 10 push-ups. I'm not saying do 11. I'm saying 3 hours later, do 1. And then the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Before you know it, if every day you mark down, you scratch into your wall or you mark on your calendar, within a month, you're like, I actually did 30 push-ups today. And you might do none today. And then by November, you're doing 100. Think about that. And that really will make you better off. But let's talk about where the Democrats are currently on the verge of implosion. I want to give a shout out to our friend Jimmy Kimmel. Gah. Oh, no, I'm not. It's not Kimmel. It's Fallon. I don't even know who these guys are. Spare me. People are like, Tim, what's your favorite podcast or show? I'm like, I just read the news. But this was actually pretty good. This one was pretty good. I have to say, I laughed. Jimmy Fallon says, Trump says he's going to be choosing his VP nominee sometime soon. He goes, quote, Trump needs someone who is going to help him win. So right now, the front runner is Joe Biden. I gotta admit, that one got me. That one made me laugh. You know, they're now getting honest about how Joe Biden is broken. His brain don't work. We've known this for a long time. I think there's something else afoot. There's a reason why they waited this long. But so long as they're being honest, I gotta say, that joke worked. Joe Biden is so disheveled and incapable. He certainly is helping Donald Trump win. For Jimmy Fallon to say that on his show, Trump needs someone who's going to help him win. So right now, the front runner is Joe Biden. And the audience laughs. Granted, there's a big sign saying applause or whatever. Not that I think these people actually understand what they're laughing at. That one was pretty good. It was pretty good. I got to say, I know for many of you, it feels good right now to sit here and just say the recognition of so much that we knew was true happening right before our eyes. It feels fantastic that Joe Biden's brain is fried. And now everyone finally agrees. But this is the funny thing. It's almost like we don't matter, right? We scream to the high heavens. There's a boulder rolling down the hill. And they go, shut up. Then the boulder slams into their house. And they go, a boulder rolling down the hill. And it's like, I told you that years ago that thing was coming. And they act like, well, we were caught off guard. It was covered up by the press. And it's like, ugh. Pay attention, dude. I say this. There's one opportunity for all of us right now. Though we may ask, qui bono, to whom it benefits that they're doing all of this. That's the question, right? Who is benefiting from this play that the media is making that Joe Biden's got to go? I tell you this. There is benefit for us in now's the opportunity for the political whiplash. Go to your liberal aunt or uncle or mom or dad or cousin, brother, sister, whatever, and say, remember how I was telling you Biden was messed up for years? Do you think I'm lying about everything else? And they may not believe you, but you try. The argument is simple. The media claims it was a cover-up, but I told you this 6 months ago, okay? Will you please listen to what I have to say? I'm not trying to hurt you. Biden is clearly not with it. Let's go, media. What did they say? President Joe Biden may have been able to nudge his fellow Democrats to publicly line up beside him in the past few days, but behind the scenes, the grumbling and panic continues. Biden has been facing increasing scrutiny since his verbal stumbles during his debate against former President Donald Trump. Recent polling showed 72% of Americans do not believe he has the mental and cognitive health to be president. The days following the debate continued to bring more tough headlines for the president as rumors swirled about internal discontent among Democrats, including several public calls for him to step aside and worries about him remaining behind in the polls. Nonetheless, Biden remains adamant that he intends to stay in the race and said so during a rally in Wisconsin. The Times has been an especially scathing voice amidst the media frenzy swirling around the president, expressly calling for Biden to drop out of the race in 2 columns from the editorial board thus far. Tuesday's article by congressional correspondent Annie Carney did not buck the trend, headlined, "On Capitol Hill, Democrats panic about Biden but do nothing." Carney detailed how multiple Democrats had publicly called for the president to swiftly take action to put to rest the doubts about his candidacy raised by a disastrous debate performance, including more unscripted events, town halls, and media interviews. So far, Mr. Biden has done none of that, wrote Carney. And yet Democrats on Capitol Hill are stifling their doubts and falling in line behind him anyway. Doing nothing was a strategy many of them conceded could be disastrous, she continued. But the defiant letter Biden sent to congressional Democrats, along with his support from congressional Black Caucus members, vociferously rallying to his side, seems to have successfully paralyzed the entire party into a state of uncertainty and inaction. Democrats in vulnerable districts were panicking, wrote Carney, as they were now left with few options beside hoping for Biden to get himself into more trouble. Key bono. To who? The swing district Democrats. That's who it benefits. That's why they're split. The voters want Joe Biden. That's the reality. And this is funny. There was a primary. People voted for Joe. They don't want anybody else. Swing district Democrats know they're going to lose. Perhaps the reality is this. Maybe there really is no coordinated effort at a grand scheme, in the grand scheme, a small one, perhaps. Perhaps Democrats have just made their bed. You know, I think of it like we're all navigating this big maze, and there are clues as to which path will bring us to the exit. And at a certain point, the Democrats veered off in a direction we warned them would lead to a dead end. But they were adamant. We will not align ourselves with you nor listen to you, you're liars. And so here we go. The Democrats have reached that impasse. Joe Biden was the only guy they thought could beat Trump, so they went for it. Kamala Harris was the diversity pick. They thought she'd be the right move. But now, several years later, lacking foresight, they end up with a president who is too old to run again. Next in line is a deeply, deeply unpopular woman who cannot win and polls the worst against Trump out of all of the Democrats, and no logical path towards replacing them. I think what we're going to see is an open convention. The Democrats are going to say, the will of the voter is spoken, blah, blah, blah. We're going to have an open convention. The polls show we should. They're going to say, well, the Democratic voter is divided as to whether Joe Biden should be the nominee at this point. Perhaps it's fair to, as Jon Stewart said, stress test and present alternatives, which we can all vote on. Biden then graciously steps down. Kamala Harris with a smile on her face. People have said, how did they get past Kamala? It's really easy. It's not as complicated as you think. She speaks to the convention and says, these past 4 years have been the honor of my lifetime to be your vice president. But the will of the people of democracy matters. And I see that there are many people who believe we have a better chance of defeating Donald Trump with a new ticket. And you know what? I will not stand in the way of democracy. I wish I could be that candidate for you, but I respect democracy. Unlike Donald Trump, it's easy. It's easy. You throw her some right now. The big challenge is going to be whether or not she's willing to make that statement. Maybe. I don't know, man. I don't trust any of these people. Does Joe Biden really not want to step down, or is it all part of some game? Is it political strategy? Behind the scenes, they're talking about which tie he should wear and what color shoes he should wear and the certain level of scuff. What's that movie with Matt Damon, The Adjustment Bureau? The story is Matt Damon's running for office. He's about to win, but then he ends up losing. And he meets this woman. She kind of changes him a little bit. He's standing there at his concession speech. And he says this line, we had a saying back where I grew up in Red Bank, when you fall down, you get back up. And then he goes, we never had that saying. A consultant thought it played well. And then he goes on to explain, they told me this tie pulled better, so that's why I wore it. They said they wanted to make sure my shoes were scuffed just enough to where I looked like I could be working class, but I didn't defend the lawyers. The idea was he came out and he was honest. He broke script. And he said, behind the scenes, they're telling me to do all these things. We all know it. That's the trope in the movie, that this guy finally said what everybody knew, and then he ends up winning next time around or something like that. The movie is actually about like angels that control fate or something. It's an okay movie. They could have done it better. But the idea is there in the minds of every single person. We know behind the scenes that Joe Biden is not just making decisions willy-nilly. We know that political consultants are guiding most of his moves. And that if they're telling him to stay in the race, there's a reason for it. I don't believe it is so cut and dry that Democrats are panicking and, oh, I'm sure swing district Democrats are panicking and crying because they don't know what's going on. I think the higher echelons of the political party know exactly what they're doing and why they're doing it. They have a general idea. Not that it means they'll be successful, but they have an idea as to why they're doing it. That being said, maybe this time around we're wrong. I don't know. It feels like the system itself is in disarray and is collapsing. Okay? Contempt of Congress, the loss of decorum. It doesn't seem to be confidence building. It doesn't seem like there's good reason to believe that this country is actually functioning the way we thought it would. In which case, perhaps Biden really is just fried. The consultants can't reach him because his brain don't work. Jill Biden doesn't want to step down from power, and Hunter Biden's worried about going to prison and needs his dad to pardon him. Maybe that's all it. Maybe. I couldn't know. I can only know what we can see on the surface. The one thing I can say, though, which is just to wrap things back up, while I respect and appreciate the takedown from CNN, you can really tell that Jake Tapper is reading a teleprompter. It's fascinating. Guys, this is a weird thing to me. The Quartering does not use a teleprompter. Viva Frei does not use a teleprompter. Luke Rudkowski does not use a teleprompter. Steven Crowder does not use a teleprompter. Like, there's a general idea of what we're going to talk about. I pull up stories that I know about, and then I just talk. Times they are a-changin'. Jake Tapper may take down Joe Biden in this segment, but you know he has no idea what he's talking about. He's just reading from a prompter in front of him and saying what his producers tell him to say. For which I ask, qui bono? Why are the producers at CNN now asking Jake Tapper to do this when he didn't for so long? Perhaps because CNN's ratings are in the gutter and they need to turn it around, and they know that, hey, this stuff kind of works. Perhaps they've realized at a certain point you can only lie so much. And regular people are like, dude, we know you're lying. And this is their time to turn things around. Maybe. Or maybe it's politically advantageous for some reason. I don't have answers for you. Just questions. But I can tell you this, Joe Biden ain't all with it. Donald Trump is a better choice. There are certainly much, much better choices across the board. And I think we need to start looking forward as to who is going to take the reins of this country when we save it, someone younger, and what that means. Next segment's coming up at 4 p.m. on the channel. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you all then.